Hey, who's ready to spring into action, huh? That's so stupid. Oh, that's so dumb.
Welcome to CK4RC.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about shocks. Because when you get a bag of parts and nothing is put together, how are you supposed to know what goes where? Like we've talked about before, nothing comes with instructions in the RC world. So let me just kind of show you how to do it. It's not super complicated, but if you've never done it before, then maybe this will be helpful. So I'm going to flip this camera around before I do so. Look at this thing, huh? I went with the classic CK4RC shirt today. Matches the banner. Listen, go to onlyrcs.com, get all the stuff, use my discount code. I'm going to copy it, or I'm going to write it down in the description. You copy it, paste it, get 20% off your order, get a bunch of cool stuff, and then save money when you do it. So I'm going to flip the camera around and we're going to crack open this bag and see what all these parts are in here and how to put them together and then how to put them on a truck. That's what we're going to do today. All right, so here we go. I've got the red bolt over here ready to assist. As you can see, it does already have some Endura aftermarket shocks on there, but those are the telescopic double barrel shocks, and no thanks, time for an upgrade on those. So let's get into this package of Endura shocks and see what we got. You already know we got some stickers, so that's always fun. More Endura stickers. That is what everybody needs. So give this a little swippy swipe and cut this thing open and see what we're working with in here. Bunch of hardware. And then shocks that are already 90% assembled. So that's pretty cool. Looking a little stiff there, don't you know? I don't know why I went to Minnesota on you all right there. Now, what is happening with the stiffness is these are not double barrel telescopic shocks, as you can see, but these are in fact, not gonna be able to get it open with my bare hands. These are in fact oil shocks. So right there's a little reservoir, and they need filled and all that good stuff. So there's the shocks themselves. And we've got a little Allen key. I don't want anything to do with that. Don't need that. And then there's a bunch of springs. So they should come with soft springs installed. That's pretty standard. But then you've got to get these out, and you got to get all the little pieces of hardware that are mixed in with the springs separated, if you can convince the stuff to come out. That is a challenge as well, but we're getting there. We are getting there. So usually those shocks, like I said, they come with the soft springs installed, but then there's also a set of medium stiffness springs and stiff, hard, whatever you want to call them, springs as well. So we're going to stick with the soft, and then we've got just a bag of goodies over here. Now, this is where sometimes people aren't real sure what goes where. So here is what I do whenever I am building these shocks. So first things first, you will see on here that one end of this little piece is a little bit wider than the other end. That will keep it from sliding all the way in, just like that. Okay? Some people will leave it like this, and they will put one of these little rubber O-rings around this side, and they'll call it good. And that's okay. A lot of people do that, actually. Personally, I like to get O-rings on both sides. One, because it comes with enough to do that. which tells me that that is at least somewhat likely that that's the intent. I didn't want to use that O-ring anyway. That one was looking at me funny and I didn't like it. It smelled bad, so I don't mind that that one just fell on the floor. Anyway, getting these on here, it does take a little bit of patience and eyesight. And I normally like to do this when my fingernails are just a little bit longer. But anyway, so just like that. And now I have an O-ring on that side. And so I will slide this back through right there. Now I've got an O-ring on that side. And then I just grab another O-ring with my short fingernails. And then I slide it over this side. And now that is held in place. That's not going anywhere. And it is ready for a screw to go through and mount it up. Just like that, I have that part done. So grab another one, throw another O-ring on the big end. Make sure you put the O-ring, the first O-ring on the big end. Otherwise, you won't be able to slide it through in order to be able to get the other ring on there. Okay. And then, as simple as that, I have, nope, didn't quite get the O-ring on there before I dropped it. But anyway, as simple as that, I have one shock done and ready to go, just like that. So from there, you need to take the wheel off your truck, get the brass hex extension off there as well, just so that way I can get down in here to the screws. I do believe these are about a 1.3 millimeter. So we'll grab that, and that is perfect. It is exactly what I needed. I'll take that as a win. And then as you can see here, when I pull that off, I already have a spacer on there because you need to make sure that the shocks are vertical. You don't want them leaning in or out of your truck. See if I can turn that and get a little better access to this lower screw, lower hex, whatever you want to call it, hex screw. But anyway, you don't want them leaning toward, like into, toward the truck or away from the truck. And now on the bottom, there is no spacer because that is how that stuff just happens to line up. Now, with the new shock, I will go ahead and mount this thing. I will mount the bottom first, and then that way I can see what kind of spacer setup I need. I need to get my driver into the hardware. There we go. Just like that. And then there's a hole that this goes into somewhere. Yep, I had it right. I just didn't have it lined up. Right here. That's where it goes. And then just screw that bad boy in. Get my fat hand out of the way. Get that screwed in nice and good. And so then what I want to do is I want to see does the spring go straight up? And no, it wants to lean in. So I do need to get that spacer. So I'm going to use a spacer and I'm going to put that. That's where it gets tricky. You want to make sure you get one of the long screws that has enough length to go through the shock and through the spacer and still have plenty of thread to be able to get into the frame. That screw was not the one that I wanted. So I'll use this one. This looks like a good screw. I'm going to just slide this in place, hopefully. If I can get my fingers to cooperate. They're not trying to do that right now. Sometimes I get a little performance anxiety, you know what I mean? Huh? Anybody else? Anybody? Bueller? No, just me? Okay. Okay. Un momento. That's Spanish for I'll be right back, or something like that. Okay, so I just needed a moment to gather the parts that I had dropped on the floor because those are tiny and I don't want too much time to go by before I collect those and gather them up before they are lost into the abyss forever. And then I needed to go ahead and get that screw started off camera without the pressure of having all 7 of you guys watch. You know what I mean? 7, because nobody watches these. Anyway, so went ahead. I've got the spacer in here, and you can see how the shock is going straight up and down, perpendicular to the frame, no rubbing on the frame. The springs are clear, all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and just finish screwing that in and secure that screw to the shock mount. Ignore how crooked my license plate is at the moment. It happens. Happens to all of us. That's what I've heard. Now, this tiny little hex pin, need to make sure that does not slide away from me. That is a pain, but there we go. I got the weight extension in there, so the pin's locked in place. Got the wheel on there. Here's my extended hex wheel hex, barrel hex. That's what it is. Barrel hex. That's what it's called. So just slide that in there. Now, what I should do right here is put some blue Loctite in this, because if I don't, it will unscrew itself and this wheel will fall off. But I'm going to be taking this back off shortly whenever I go to add shock oil to the shocks, which that's going to be coming up in another video very soon. But for those of you in the know that are screaming at me right now for not putting blue Loctite on there, trust me, I hear you loud and clear. I do know better. But for the time being, that shock is done. So just need to do that 4 more times, and that is how you build and install shocks on your rig. So hopefully that was helpful for somebody. If you have never installed shocks before, let me know if that was helpful. If you have installed shocks and you only do O-rings on one side, let me know why. Leave me a comment and let me know why you only do one side, just because it's not necessary to do both. Or if you do both sides, what's your preference on that? Leave me a comment. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that while you're here. Why not? There's going to be more videos coming. You don't want to miss those. Trust me, you don't want to. I don't want you to. Anyway, thanks for coming back. Go ahead and hit the quadfecta before you go. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. I will see you next time. Keep doing RC stuff.